Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you. It reminds me of my students come into the classroom, that last minute, right before, okay. We're going to get started with the 15th meeting of Infrastructure and Corporate Services Committee. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The City of London is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron. We honor and respect the histories, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. The City of London is currently home to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit today. As representatives of the people of the City of London, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact icsc@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. Just letting everyone know that here in Chambers, we have all members of our committee, and then online we have Councillor Stevenson so far that is joining us. So welcome, everyone. I'll start with item 1, disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Van Meerbergen.
Thank you, Chair. I have a pecuniary interest on 2.5D, which deals with childcare, and my wife operates her own childcare, so that is the conflict.
Thank you. I will look to pull that item out of consent and separate for Part D for you. Looking at item 2 on the consent agenda, is there anything anyone would like to have pulled? Okay, seeing none, other than 2.5, I will look for a motion to put 2.1 through 2.7 on the floor for discussion. Councillor Van Meerbergen, seconded by Councillor Frank, and that's with the exception of 2.5, and looking for discussion. I'll go to the mayor. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to make comments on 2 items from the consent, the city's credit rating and the mid-year budget monitoring report. On the credit rating, I want to again, as I do annually, thank our staff and their teams for all the work that is involved in not only the work with Moody's and the assessment that happens, which includes an interview with myself as well, but also the things that actually lead to a positive credit rating that both council and staff are responsible for together. And that includes the adherence to strong financial policies, sticking with our plans, making good decisions, and all of the things that lead to what are exceptionally positive comments in the actual Moody's report. Moody's continues to again point to the fact that we have a 4-year budget plan as a positive, and the flexibility within that plan on an annual basis, as council knows, to adjust and make structural changes to that plan. Our strict adherence to a number of our policies, and the way that our policies are structured to deal with the city's long-term debt and investment management strategies. On the debt side, we've done a really good job, and I can tell you this is something that they talk about extensively in the interview process. The way that we manage debt over time in the city is very important. We've been able to, through adhering to our policies, whether it's the assessment growth policy or the surplus policy, we've been able to pay down a significant portion or avoid a significant portion of city-issued debt, which puts us in a favorable position compared to other municipalities and is a significant item that is commented on in the Moody's report. So, all of this to say, the reason why the credit rating has been the way it is for 49 years is because multiple councils, multiple staffs, have done a good job of making good financial decisions over a long period of time, and that's something that puts the city in a great position. And remember, this is all about saving Londoners money. If we have a better credit rating, we borrow at a better rate. There's a debenture issuance on the report as well, and it shows you the rates that we've been getting over the last number of years, and that's a function of a good credit rating. It gets lots of subscription to our debt offerings and at good rates. So that's the first piece. On the mid-year monitoring report, and I know this is only the mid-year point, and we'll have to wait to see where we land. I want to thank staff for putting together a transparent report that outlines, where we are and where we're headed to within the structure of the budget. I identify a number of unanticipated surprises within the report, some that I think we could expect to come, some that are new, including some more than anticipated provincial funding, fewer draws on things like childcare operations from operators, as well as more than expected tipping fees at the W12A landfill. That one was almost $3.6 million itself. And because we made the decision and worked with the province on development charge exemptions, an adjustment to that reserve fund that's no longer needed given the changes the province has allowed us to make. So all that to say, I think that staff have outlined a good report here. I'm supportive of the content in it. I think given the pressure that we might have on the operating budget contingency reserve, we just at another committee talked about pressures we have from EnWave and needing to draw on that reserve. I think restoring or identifying a portion is to restore and keep that reserve healthy is good. And then the rest being run through policy seems appropriate at this time. And just wanted to thank staff for a good report. So those are the two comments I had on the consent items.
Thank you. I will go to Councillor Frank, then Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you. Yes, my question is for item, which one? 2.3, the operating budget report, which was just discussed. I unfortunately missed the last caps, so perhaps it happened there. But I note in the item it says that will be a portion of the surplus 10.6 will remain in the operating reserve fund to replenish the costs as per September 29th caps. I'm just wondering, do we have to do a notwithstanding our policy? Because I feel like a couple times we've been, trying to choose polite words, told we can't do that in very firm language. And so I'm just wondering if we did a notwithstanding or we don't have to do that if it's directed through council.
Thank you. I'll go to Mr. Murray.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So the surplus deficit policy does in fact include provisions that authorize the city treasurer to set aside a certain amount of the surplus in the operating budget contingency reserve if deemed necessary. So it is entirely within policy. It is not something that requires specific notwithstanding or direction from council.
Councillor Frank?
Thank you. Yes, I didn't know that, but I'm always learning something new. Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Hopkins next, and I know I've got Councillor Purple and then Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to follow up with Mayor's comments on 2.1 and congratulate city staff on the city having a AAA rating again, 49 years. It's a long time, so congratulations to staff. I do have a quick question on 2.3, which is the budget monitoring report as it relates to DC. So we're not going to be topping up the DCs, but as we go forward, and I think we're still trying to understand how these DCs are going to work for municipalities, how will we know when, as we expand, develop, growth, infrastructure demands are placed on our city, how will we know when we need to go to these reserves and add additional monies? I know there's a lot of changes and there's a bit of uncertainty out there, but I'd like to have a better understanding what you're looking at through you, Madam Chair, to staff on knowing where to go with our DCs.
Thank you. I'll go to Ms. Barbone.
Thank you, through the chair. So continuous monitoring of the DC reserve funds is one of the things that we are doing. So currently we're right on track in terms of doing the work and getting the master plans completed to be able to inform the next 2028 bylaw that will come forward for the new DC background study. So right now we do an annual treasurer's report. So as part of that annual treasurer's report, we've been keeping council informed and doing a pretty detailed analysis of the shortfalls that we are currently experiencing. So all of the tools that we have to manage the reserve fund balances in terms of deferrals of projects and projects re-looking at the timelines as to when they're going to be done. A lot of that work has been done this year to really try to ensure that those funds are as sustainable as possible. As we continue to do that, we also continue to advocate to the province wherever possible for additional infrastructure funding, particularly with respect to growth, to also provide that support. And we've had a number of successes that have assisted in looking at maintaining those growth projects. So one of the most important things is going to be our continued monitoring of those reserve funds and what the works are to ensure that we have sufficient funding, and that annual report will clearly articulate that. So we're certainly in a significant shortfall. We're managing it. But when we get to a point, and hopefully we will not get to a point where they're not going to be, or going to be a bit of a more of a problem, we will certainly bring that to council's attention. And our hope is that all of the tools we've identified to look at our projects, manage the reserve fund balances, and continue our advocacy will get us through to the next DC study.
Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me we have all those tools in place, and the importance of the work, the ongoing work continues. So I want to thank you for that. And of course, the advocacy has to continue with the provincial government. I really do appreciate that. And I think terrace is another conversation that I think we still need to understand a little bit more and monitor. And I just have a further comment on 2.7. Really pleased to see some of the solar energy projects going forward. Really like to see some more of these, but just wanted to make a comment on that, and that's it.
Thank you. I will go to Councillor Purple. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair to the staff. I'll start with 2.1, Moody's report. And the net direct and indirect debt expressed as a percentage of operation revenue, it actually declined from 11.7, from 13.7. London's debt burden is low even compared to the domestic peers. Can you please let me know other municipalities similar to ours, what would be their ratios, percentages, and also what is their rating?
Go to Mr. Murray. Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. So unfortunately, we don't have access to Moody's reports for other municipalities. That's their proprietary information that requires a subscription service. But having said that, I mean, we do know generally that there are other metrics that we get through, for example, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing every year that provides some context in terms of our debt picture relative to others. And I'm just pulling that up right now just to kind of give you a sense. So, for example, debt as a percentage, for example, of own source revenues, we were 4.8 for 2023 being the most recent year, compared to, for example, anywhere in the kind of the 4.1 to 4.3% for other municipalities across the province. We know on a kind of debt servicing as a percentage of total revenues basis, if we look at kind of more direct comparators to London, municipalities such as Ottawa, Hamilton, Windsor, Kingston, Guelph, we're kind of right in the middle generally of where those municipalities stand as well. So all of that to say, I think we are fortunate to be in good financial standing, even in comparison to other municipalities. But as the mayor noted before, we are only in good shape because of that consistent adherence to our financial policies and our strategic financial framework over an extended period of time. Having said that, of course, though, I think it is important to reiterate that, based on what was approved through the multi-year budget, we do know that our debt burden is forecasted to grow in the coming years. And back in April, we brought our year-end monitoring report to this committee. In there, we included a number of graphs that kind of illustrate where we're headed from a debt perspective. And that debt is still projected to come in the coming years. So, I think it's the adherence to our policies and continuing to apply those principles going forward can't be understated, especially as we look at it in relation to debt management.
Thank you, Councillor Purple.
Thank you for that answer. Ours is public knowledge as it is on the standing committee. I would I assume that other municipalities, I would imagine they would do the same. If they do, wouldn't be for us to do a meaningful comparative analysis, wouldn't be out of curiosity how we stand towards the other ones. And again, I do, in terms of paying off debt, I want us to be responsible, absolutely. But always look at the other side of the coin and looking at, are we maximizing our opportunities because we need additional funds, again, to grow and to prosper as well. And I know one of the other questions had interest expense consumed only 0.3% of our operating revenue, and how it is again with other municipalities. If you know, if we do know how the other municipalities are doing, and if we don't, again, would it make sense to do this comparative analysis to see how we stand compared to the other ones, and following how is the Moody's rating? Because they potentially could be that theirs could be weaker, but still they could have the AAA rating.
Mr. Murray?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. So, yes, I suppose that for those that do publish their Moody's reports, and that's not to say all of them necessarily do, we do. I can't say that all of them do or that any others do. We've never actually gone and gone looking for them specifically, to be honest. So that would require a considerable administrative effort to go and do that. The other thing I'll mention too is not all municipalities are rated by Moody's. There are other credit rating agencies such as Standard & Poor's, such as DBRS. They may look at slightly different metrics that may not have kind of the exact same calculation as this. So we might be challenged in our ability to compare to others on that basis as well. So I hope that is helpful in terms of some context.
Counselor?
Thank you for that. If staff came to the conclusion that potentially we are not maximizing our opportunities and still being very cautious, paying off our debt, would actually staff come back to us with a proposal, or should it be really, again, driven by the council?
Mr. Murray?
Thank you, through you. So I'll refer back, Councillor, to the year-end capital monitoring report that we brought forward back in April. And earlier I alluded to the debt projections and the debt graphs that are in there. What those graphs show is that particularly on property tax and wastewater, we are projected to hit or even slightly exceed our debt cap, our internal debt cap, which is essentially the level of debt that we are comfortable with as civic administration. So I am not in a position to say that we have capacity in the years to come. In fact, I think we need to continue doing the good job that we've been doing at addressing that debt through our debt substitution practices in order to bring those debt forecasts down so that we do have that capacity, or we're able to create some capacity into the future where we might need it.
Councilor Purple?
Thank you for that answer. Through the chair, 2.2. In May 2025, we secured debenture at rate 3.76 with a higher rate than actually now in September, or at least if my reading of the report is accurate. And when I went back to the May as well, can you please let me know, both of them were over $20 million, and we were more successful, or more, our interest rate was better a few months ago when actually interest rates were higher.
Mr. Murray?
Through you, Madam Chair. So I'll draw your attention, Councillor, to page 16 of the report. And there is noted an important distinction on this, I think, and that being that our spring issuance was a 10-year debenture issuance. This is a 20-year debenture issuance. So this is not an apples to apples comparison with the spring issuance. Investors, of course, naturally expect a higher return for a longer term investment. So that's why you're seeing rates for this issuance that are higher than the spring issuance, because this is a 20-year term instead of the 10-year term from the spring.
Counselor?
Which makes perfect sense, and thank you for that answer. 2.3 on page 51 is the mayoral direction of the 60 units. And I know there is a report coming out, but there was mentioned $7 million. Whoever did this calculation, what is the projective of capital and operating, and the operating, how many months, years would it cover? Thank you.
Mr. Murray?
Through you, Chair. So that figure is based on some experience that we've looked at from other municipalities who've gone through similar projects, namely Ottawa, Peterborough, and Hamilton. And these are very, very, very preliminary estimates at this point, so I do want to emphasize that. But as it currently stands, we project about $3 million in capital costs, and then $3 million per year in operating costs. So that $7 million figure that you referenced, that includes the one-time capital costs of $3 million, plus 16 months of operating costs. So 16 months is $4 million. That gets us through winter 2026, 2027. So again, very early, very preliminary estimates. We'll of course continue to refine that costing as we get further into this over the coming months.
Councillor Purple?
Thank you for that. Another question I had with the surpluses in water, wastewater. Did we ever consider in the past, either through staff or previous council, to actually do direct refund to the taxpayers to equal the surplus that we collect?
Mr. Murray?
Through you, Madam Chair. So our surplus deficit policy, that addresses not just the property tax budget, but the water and wastewater budgets as well. So the water and wastewater budgets, they have similar parameters in the surplus deficit policy. First, we look at, is there a contribution required to the respective budget contingency reserve for water or wastewater? So in this case, our wastewater budget contingency reserve is completely fully depleted. There is nothing left. So we believe it is prudent at this point to replenish that reserve. Once we get, once we get past that first checkpoint in the process, the remaining surplus is then allocated 60% to debt substitution. So in other words, the reducing authorized but unissued debt, and then 40% goes to the respective life cycle capital reserves for water and wastewater. And I mentioned a few minutes ago about the debt projections. We do have significant debt pressures coming, and particularly in wastewater in the years ahead, significant projects that are coming up in the 10-year capital plan. And to the extent that we can kind of reduce that future debt, that would be, I think, in our view, prudent, both from the financial stability standpoint, but also, from the perspective of avoiding the additional costs down the road of interest that would be incurred on those borrowings.
Councillor Purple?
Thank you very much. No more questions.
Thank you. I have Councillor Stevenson, and then I have Councillor Frank for her second turn, so I'll go to Councillor Stevenson first. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was surprised to see these extensive budget monitoring reports go through consent. I had a whole bunch of questions, but I will just focus on the major ones and do the rest of them via email. So in 2.1...
That's our process, that they go through whichever, unless...
No, I'm saying nobody pulled them.
Yeah, I'm saying a member of committee could have pulled them, but nobody did pull them, but there, you can still ask questions in consent. Go ahead.
I understand. I just said I'm surprised that no one pulled these extensive budget monitoring reports, so I'll keep my questions short. On the credit rating on page 4, it talks about that Moody's notes a sustained loss of fiscal discipline leading to a material increase in debt or a substantial reduction in financial reserves could place downward pressure. I'm just wondering through you to staff if we could get a ballpark of what would be a material increase or a substantial reduction.
I'll go to Mr. Murray. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Councillor, and through you, I think it's definitely a question that has come up before, and it's in fact even one that we've asked our Moody's representatives ourselves. Unfortunately, there is no black and white answer to that question. Debt and reserve levels are certainly very large metrics that Moody's looks at, but they're not looked at in isolation. Moody's looks at a number of metrics and a number of factors in their assessment. They look at things such as, are we generating positive operating results? Is our governance position remaining strong? So in other words, are we following our financial policies and practices? What does the local economic picture look like? There's a number of factors, I guess what I'm saying is that they go into the rating that they assign, not just specifically, a nominal amount of debt or a nominal amount of reserves. So I wish there were specific numbers that we could reference. I think that would make all of our jobs easier, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
Counselor?
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm just wondering, can you give us any idea though? Because in previous years, we've been encouraged not to make certain choices for this reason. And now this year, we're being asked to make choices about taking money from reserves. And so I just want to understand, like just very ballpark, I'm not going to hold anybody to it. At what numbers or percentages are we talking about where council should be paying more attention?
Mr. Murray?
Through you, Madam Chair. Again, Councillor, I really wish there were specific numbers I could provide you. I cannot, unfortunately. What I can say is that Moody's is very well aware of our debt projections as included in our most recent budget update. So they are aware of that. They are aware of our reserve and reserve fund levels. That, again, is outlined in the materials that they review on an annual basis. I can't speak to specifically what numbers would give them pause or concern. And in fact, I think, to them, a sustained practice of doing something, for example, that may be against our policies, in kind of quantitative or qualitative terms may be more concerning to them. But I can't speak for them in terms of specific numbers or amounts that may be material to their analysis.
Counselor Stevenson?
Okay, thank you. As I said, though, these were arguments used in previous years quite strongly to encourage us not to do the things that we're being asked to do this year. So it's a council struggle, I guess, that we get to do here. On page 17, we're again being asked, or I just heard that it was deemed necessary. If in our budget policy, if it was deemed necessary, we could take this 10.6 million to allocate it to the homeless services. And I'm just wondering what makes it deemed necessary?
Thank you. I'll go to Mr. Murray.
Through you, Madam Chair, that is at the discretion of the treasurer. So the policy, and I can pull up the specific policy language, if you'll bear with me. So the policy states that the city treasurer or designate is authorized to retain all or a portion of the year-end surplus in the operating budget contingency reserve, not to exceed the reserve target balance established through the reserve and reserve fund policy. So it really is an at the discretion of the city treasurer decision.
Counselor?
Thank you. Could we maybe hear from the city treasurer then for the reasoning behind this? Because $7 million is for a brand new project. Maybe it's the strong mayor powers that has an influence, and the other one is temporary funding.
Ms. Barbone?
Thank you, through the chair. So further to the report that went to CAPS last week, and the report that will be going to the special CAPS committee this week, all of this will follow the same council agenda. Those are all being funded with temporary sources and will be drawing on the operating budget contingency fund. So as a result of the target balance and the fact that we are going opposite to where the target balance is, there are no other funding sources to put forward towards the operating budget contingency reserve fund. Therefore, I am recommending and will be proceeding to replenish the operating budget contingency reserve fund with the draws that we are taking on a temporary basis to support those programs, subject to council approval. If, of course, those amounts differ and/or need to change as a result of the council direction, then I would modify the funding to support that accordingly.
Counselor?
Okay, thank you for that. On page 22, it talks about the cost and revenue drivers, and number one is the municipal housing and housing stability services. As we know, the hub contracts end in December 2025. We were hoping for provincial funding after that. It appears we don't have it. And it says that there's renewal options available for up to 4 additional one-year terms. So is that decision going to be coming to council, given the fact that we don't have enough money to do everything that we want to?
Just a moment, I'll get you an answer. I'll go to Mr. Dickens, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. The hubs have the opportunity for an additional renewal, and we expect that we will have the HPP funding in place to support that one-year contract renewal. We do anticipate that Civic Administration will be coming back to the CAPS committee, however, with more long-term planning in terms of system procurement and the necessary services that need to be procured outside of just the hubs.
Councillor Stevenson?
Thank you for that. And when can we expect to see that?
Mr. Dickens?
Through you, Chair, we expect to bring that before the end of the calendar year.
Councillor Stevenson?
So just to clarify, is that prior to the contracts being renewed, or is that being done, the renewals being done without council decision?
Mr. Dickens?
Thank you, Chair. To clarify, we will be bringing forward a Civic Administration report regarding the procurement of services in the homeless prevention system. We have the ability to renew the hubs for an additional 1 year. That will not be coming to council. The procurement report will be coming to council.
Councillor Stevenson?
Okay, thank you. And I do understand that the renewals are able to be done by Civic Administration. My concern, I guess, is that we had one winter response where, we approved daytime funding and then realized we didn't have enough money for nighttime funding. And then there was the 23-24 winter where we were presented 3 possibilities for shelters, but only funding for 2. And I note that we didn't do this kind of thing at this time, taking it and funding it through the operating budget contingency fund. So I guess my concern just is, again, in number 2, it says that forecasted expenditures continue to exceed funding allocations in 2026 and beyond. So I guess what I want to just be clear on is that I feel like council I, as one councillor, would like to see the runway before we hit the end of it and have some ability to make some decisions along the way that maybe we wouldn't have made previously when there was enough funding. So that I will just put that out there. And in terms of the DC reserve funds, I don't want to belabor the point that we had extensive conversation in February 2024. It was very clear to the budget committee that the legislative business case for the DC reserve funds was not legislatively required, that we didn't need the letter from the minister to give us permission to make our own decisions. What I do want to know is, back then, we realized it wasn't legislatively required, but it was financial prudence, was my understanding, was the reason why the motions to lower those business cases failed. And so I'm wondering, given the additional pressures that we're facing now.
Councillor, can you wrap up with your question?
Yes. So my question is, I'm wondering how we are justifying it from a financial prudence perspective right now, given that the situation appears to be.
Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So our understanding, up until we received the clarification from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, was that we are legislatively obligated to backfill for those DC exemptions. The clarity that we have since received allows us to make some different decisions and gives us the discretion to move in a different direction.
Thank you. I have Councillor Frank next on my
That doesn't answer the financial prudence piece.
Thank you. If you'd like to take that question further offline, I think that Mr. Murray provided an answer. Mr. Murray, did you have anything else you wanted to say on that matter?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not clear on the comment around financial prudence. I would need the councillor to clarify that for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I do have others on the speakers list if you'd like to clarify that offline with Mr. Murray.
Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Frank. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a question about item 2.4, the capital budget monitoring. I noticed that it looks like 65 completed capital projects have wrapped up and there's a surplus of 5.9 million. And then also there's a bunch of budget adjustments completed resulted in 25.5 million. Both say that they're going to be returned to their original sources of funding. I'm wondering, is there the same city treasurer exemption policy for capital budget policies? Because there is an underpass at Warncliffe and Horton that desperately needs some funding to be able to move forward. So is there any way to make that, does that policy apply to this policy, and can we bump up Warncliffe and Horton?
Mr. Murray.
Through you, Madam Chair. No, that only applies to the operating budget. Our practice with respect to capital is that any released surplus capital funds return to their original funding source, and then that would be a separate budget decision in terms of what expenditures the council wishes to incur, and we would go about determining the appropriate sources of funding for that accordingly.
Councillor Frank.
Thank you. Then I will just let it be known that I would really love some operating reserve fund money for capital expenses at Warncliffe and Horton, if that's, just putting that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for other speakers. Okay, seeing none, this would be, I'll open the vote on all items with the exclusion of 2.5.
Closing the vote, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, and I just want to thank staff for all those reports. We will move on to items for direction, which was item 2.5. I'll look for a mover and seconder on this item. I've got Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Frank, and looking for any discussion. Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, maybe through you, just to staff, I noticed the timeline, there's a change from 8 years to 4 years with these agreements. Any concerns there that we're going into a shorter timeline? And if you could maybe just extend to what's on the report, reasons why. Thank you.
Mr. Murray.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Excuse me, yes, that is in fact an intentional decision. So the previous agreements were 8 years in length, and what we saw was that there was an awful lot of change in the course of 8 years in a number of the services that are covered by these agreements. So both parties, the city and the county, thought it prudent to shorten the length of these agreements. That gives us an opportunity in 4 years' time to make any adjustments that need to be made to reflect any further changes that could occur. That's not to say that we're necessarily aware of anything that we haven't already incorporated, but should there be changes at the provincial level, for example, in the coming years, it's a lot sooner the opportunity to review and renegotiate these agreements.
Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, maybe just as a follow-up, I agree there's been lots of changes, so it does make sense to shorten those timelines. And many thanks for the negotiations and the work with these agreements.
Thank you. Any other questions on these items? Okay, seeing none, I've been asked to separate the vote, so I will open first A, B, C, and E, and then we'll do D separately. So this will open up A, B, C, and E.
Councillor Purble? Closing the vote, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Now on Part D.
Closing the vote, motion carries 5-0 with one recuse.
Thank you. That concludes item 4. Item 5, deferred matters or additional business. Does anyone have anything on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to item 6, which is our confidential items. We have 2, 6.1 and 6.2. 6.1, the reasons are shared, but you can see that solicitor-client privilege advice, confidential trade secret, or scientific, technical, commercial, and so on and so forth, outlined, as well as 6.2 land disposition, and I will look for a mover and a seconder for those items to go in camera. I've got Councillor Hopkins and Councillor Van Meerbergen for a vote.
Closing the vote, motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll ask anyone in the gallery or anyone that's not needed for confidential sessions to please exit the room. Okay, thank you. I will go to Counselor Frank to report out from in camera.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report that progress was made for the items for which we went in camera for.
Thank you, and with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Counselor Van Meerbergen, Counselor Frank, and by hand, all in favor?
Motion carries.
Thanks, everyone.